You don't actually fail because you're lazy. That's the story you tell yourself, but it doesn't fully explain it. Because you still care, you still plan, you still start, sometimes. And then something happens. You stop. Look at your unfinished life for a moment. Not metaphorically, literally. The ideas you never touched again. The book draft sitting somewhere, half alive. The gym plan that lasted 4 days. The conversation you were supposed to have weeks ago. It's strange when you really look at it. You don't lack direction, you lack follow-through. And at night, something subtle shows up. Not loud, not dramatic, just uncomfortable. A quiet internal noise. You tell yourself, I'll fix it tomorrow. But you've said that before, many times. So, what is actually happening? Why does the mind resist what it clearly knows is important? Let's go layer by layer, but don't rush this. Because your mind will try to escape the explanation halfway through. That's part of the pattern. We live in an environment that doesn't care about your goals. It only cares about attention, constant noise, constant stimulation, constant novelty. And your nervous system, honestly, it adapts. It prefers easy relief over delayed reward. So, when you sit down to do something difficult, something subtle happens. A small tension rises. Not panic, just discomfort. And your brain goes, let's fix that quickly. So you reach for your phone. Not because you're weak. That explanation is too simple. You're regulating a state, not making a moral decision. But it begs to ask, why does the task feel uncomfortable in the first place? It's just a task, right? Or is it? This is where most people misunderstand themselves. They think they are avoiding work. No, they are avoiding feelings. Tasks are not neutral. They carry emotional weight. An email can carry pressure. A gym session can carry self-judgment. A blank page can carry exposure. And suddenly, it's not a task anymore, it's a mirror. And the mind doesn't like mirrors because mirrors don't negotiate. They just show. So what do you feel? Anxiety, boredom, overwhelm? Sometimes even fear. Not loud fear, quiet fear. The kind that just says, what if I'm not good at this? Or worse, what if I am, but I still fail? And here's the part nobody likes admitting. You are not avoiding productivity. You are avoiding emotional discomfort. But even that is not the deepest layer, not even close. Now, we go deeper. And this is where things get uncomfortable. Because now, it's not about behavior anymore. It's about self-image. Throughout your life, you've built a quiet story about who you are. Not out loud, internally. I'm smart. I have potential. I'm different. I'll figure it out eventually. And that story feels safe until reality asks for proof. Because reality doesn't accept identity claims. It only accepts output. So when you sit down to do the work, something subtle activates. Not motivation, not laziness, something more defensive. Because if you try fully and still fail, then what does that mean? Not about the task, about you. So the mind quietly calculates, don't go all in, stay safe, stay untested. And you call it procrastination. But it's not avoidance of work, it's protection of identity. This part is almost painful to notice, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. As long as the work is not done, you stay unlimited, unmeasured, undefined. You are still the person who could, not the person who did. And that version of you feels powerful because it cannot be judged, it cannot be rejected, it cannot be measured, but it also cannot become real. And this is where perfectionism enters. Not as ambition, but as protection. If I can't do it perfectly, I won't start. It sounds disciplined, it feels high standard, but underneath it, it is fear negotiating with reality. Because perfectionism is not about excellence. It is about safety. And procrastination, it is perfectionism's escape route. It keeps everything in possibility, where nothing can go wrong, but also nothing can ever become right. Now, listen carefully, because this is where the loop breaks. Not through motivation, not through discipline, through recognition. The master has failed more than the beginner has tried, but the beginner avoids starting. Because they want mastery without exposure. And the uncomfortable truth is that avoiding failure is still failure. Just delayed, quiet, invisible. So the real question is not, how do I become more disciplined? It is, what am I protecting by not starting? Sit with that. Because your answer will not be about productivity. It will be about identity. Tomorrow, when you sit down and the urge comes back to check your phone, to open another tab, to do anything except the work, don't fight it. Just notice it. Not as weakness, not as failure, but as movement. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Not what you are doing, what you are feeling, and be honest, because the mind will try to rename it. I just need a break. I work better later. I'm thinking. But underneath all of that is usually something simpler. I don't want to feel incompetent right now. And once you see that clearly, the spell weakens. Not instantly, but noticeably. Because now the resistance is no longer mysterious. It is understandable, and what is understood loses control. So, you sit back down, not because you are confident, but because you are no longer negotiating with fear. And the work begins. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but honestly. And that is the point. You are not what you imagine. You are not what you intend. You are what you repeatedly do, especially when it is uncomfortable. And slowly, the fantasy version of you fades. Not because you killed it, but because you stopped feeding it and something real begins to take its place. That is where discipline starts. Not in control, but in truth. This is the Ciso Hub. Wisdom for the mind, discipline for the self, clarity for life. Subscribe and begin the journey inward. Until next time, remain sovereign.